Hello people who enjoy playing Pokemon, it is I, the NinjaNick333. We are back with another round of Japan's Champions League that is in the E block and on standard format. We have, looks like a couple of 3-0s playing here in this match. We are seeing a Lost Box deck here on the left, the one that is currently closer to us on the screen. And we have a Lugia deck on the other side of the board. Looks like it is a Giratina variant. Looks like a lot of these Japanese players are really favoring Giratina in this current meta. It's really nice to see that this deck has gotten a lot more play. Even with the loss of the scoop up net, being able to just be a whole lot better than it was before. So we do see an escape rope. We're going to switch into a second Comfey, use a second flower selecting here. We do have a Giratina in play as well. We're going to Lost Zone this Drapion. Definitely don't need that in a matchup against Lugia. We do have the Alt Art Lugia here on the right. Very important to note that that card is likely expensive in Japan too, but a lot more expensive most likely here. You know, I wonder how expensive it is, so maybe I could just buy a Japanese, because I would really love to own one of those cards and like have it graded and stuff. Look, we are going to go for the Capturing Aroma, which is a great way for these Lugia decks to still get to their evolution Pokemon and their basic Pokemon. So we do see a Heads. Heads makes you search your deck for an evolution Pokemon. Tails makes you search for a basic Pokemon. So either way, great in this Lugia deck on the first turn of the game. I do want to say, did Evolution Incense rotate? Was that a D-block card? I'm not 100% sure. I'm very unfamiliar with when cards specifically released because I did not come back into the game until Brilliant Stars. So we are going to see two Archeops are already in hand. We are going to Ultra Ball them away, discarding both of them to grab a Tyranitar. So this is one of the new ways that we play Lugia in the new standard format, the E-block on with Scarlet and Violet legal. I do have to look up what this Tyranitar does specifically, though. Tyranitar V, is it the Battle Styles one? Yes, I believe it's the Battle Style. Yes, it is, 100%. So, Tyranitar V from Battle Styles is a single strike Pokemon for 1 darkness and double colorless. It does 60. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. That is called Cragalanche. That is a really cool card attack to be using late in the game to make your opponent deck out. And there is Single Strike Crush for 2 darkness, 2 colorless. Does 240. Discard the top 4 cards of your own deck. So this card can hit big numbers with single strike energies. So since you don't have access to a lot of the tools that Lugia did have previously, this is a way to hit really high numbers very easily. You can use all of these single strike energies in this deck. Looks like we are going for the Colress's Experiment here on this other side of the board. We have a couple of Lugias here on the right, so we're not worried about getting knocked out and not having access to a Lugia V-Star to get those Archeops into play on the next turn. Even discarded a Lugia V-Star, we must be very comfortable with that. We must also likely either have another one in hand, or we are playing 3 copies. So that Colress's Experiment does Lost Zone, Manaphy, and another card. We are going to use Escape Rope. The opponent just like points at his cards. I'm assuming that means that he just switches his 2 Lugias and is too lazy to actually switch them. Technically, you do really have to switch them, but I don't think that they really care in Japan. Like, it's just like a, oh yeah, yeah. Like a lot of the times if I'm playing against Lost Box and my opponent has a Comfey active that they've used, they have their little coin or ability use marker on it that signifies that they've used it, and they play Escape Rope and they're like, or a switch card, and like, I'm just gonna, and then they put the ability use marker to the one on the bench. I always allow that. It's fine. As long as you can track the game state and it's effectively the same, even though you technically didn't do the action correctly, I don't really care. Looks like we do have a benching of a Stone Journer. Oh, Jesus, I gotta read all these cards. I know that's a single strike Pokemon, and I'm pretty sure it does extra damage based on... Oh, shoot. I just searched regular Stone Journer, the Pokemon. Stonjourner TCG. I believe this is the Battle Styles one. So Land's Pulse, Fighting Colorless does 30 plus if there's a stadium in play, 30 more. Giga Hammer, Fighting Colorless, 120, can't use Giga Hammer next turn. So if you're going against a deck that is weak to fighting Pokemon, I do believe that the Tyranitar would be weak, so this is a counter for the mirror as well. So pretty cool to see that. I'm pretty sure I own those. I'm not entirely sure. Did they come in the Single Strike theme deck? Because if so, I own at least one. I bought the Single Strike theme deck because I thought that I was going to play Gengar with the Single Strike stuff, but then I found out very quickly that that was a bad deck, so I wasted my money. But at least now I have all those urns and Single Strike energies for for using this deck when this comes out, so... Well, when rotation happens. It's technically already out. So, yep, Comfeys are doing Comfey things. We've already gotten to 7 cards in the Lost Zone, was able to Mirage Gate to this Giratina. We are going to bring up the Tyranitar because we know that that is the attacking threat. That is the thing that can knock out the Giratina V-Star. So we are going to Lost Zone 2 energy to use our first attack, knocking it out for 280 damage. So that is a pretty stellar, I guess, turn 3 from this Giratina player here. I like that they keep track of whose turn is whose. Still got 18 minutes left in this best of 1 match. We are flipping a coin for capturing Aroma. I don't like the inconsistency of coin flip cards. At the very least, this always gets you a card, but it's not reliable on whether it's going to get you a basic or an evolution Pokemon. You can never really predict it, so at times you may need it to get one, and you flip wrong. So, we do see the evolution to the Rainbow Rare Lugia V-Star. Very ugly. Rainbow Rares are awful to look at. You cannot really... They're better in person, but they're always awful to see on stream. Just because you can barely tell what the cards are. We are going to... I believe we grabbed that Tyranitar with the Capturing Aroma. We get the double Archeops out. So now we are going to be able to charge up our dudes. We have a double turbo on our active, so we can retreat straight into the... right into the Tyranitar V. We are going to get some Single Strike energies. We do have the Urns of Vitality we can use at some point to recycle these. I believe that's the one that recycles it. To recycle the Single Strike energies to keep putting them back into play with the Archeops. I believe that going into this format, this is the single best way to play Lugia. Although I do believe that there is also a variant that plays Umbreon VMAX, which is pretty good as well. I believe Umbreon... Does Umbreon VMAX have an ability where you evolve it and you gust? Is that how that works? I'm pretty sure. Which makes that kind of good, so... Yep, so we do see... Oh god, which energy is that? Is that Lucky Energy, the one that allows you to draw a card if you get hit into? I believe that's what it is. And that's V-Guard energy that just came down on the Lugia, so we did retreat off the double turbo. And we are discarding 4 cards from the top of our deck, which is very unfortunate. I do not like the way that that works with the Tyranitar. Because you could always discard something that you'll need later in the game, or you can't attack when you are at too low of prize cards because you'll deck out. So we're going to see some more flower selectings. Looks like we have 10 cards in the Lost Zone now, so we will be able to attack with Sableye. We already have 1 in play, although that does not get you very far here. You do not have any Giratinas more in play This Lugia deck looks like it is just way too aggressive to be able to keep up. It's a lot easier to just put down a Tyranitar that is a basic Pokemon and charge it up, doing extra damage with those single strike energies. Looks like we are going to Lost Zone. Double Cramorant with this Chorus's Experiment. I like how they zoom out a little bit so that we can see the whole Lost Zone there. We are going to bench another Giratina. Hopefully that does not get bosses orders. Bosses ordered? Is that how you say that? On this next turn. It doesn't sound right for sure. It's correct, but it doesn't sound like English. So we Mirage Gate to the Giratina and to the Comfey so that we can retreat it. We do attach for turn to the Sableye so we can start like trying to get to knockouts. Always make your opponent maybe have that, like, continue attacking with the... Well, I guess you could attack with the first attack with the Tyranitar, right? And then discard 2 cards from the opponent's deck instead. That would be pretty good against Lost Box. Although we are seeing an Energy Recycler, so that will be able to put a bunch of more cards back into the deck here for the player on the left. Looks like 5 full energy cards. The entire Energy Recycler is getting the full use here. Ooh, I keep yawning. It is almost 2 a.m. for me, so I should really go to bed. We are also seeing the Forest Seal Stone come down to the Giratina. It's very interesting that these decks that have V-Star powers are using the V-Star tools. Seems a little counterintuitive, but I suppose it does give you the option to just search your deck for whatever card you need if you don't need to use Giratina V-Star's V-Star attack. So it looks like we put the full 120 onto the active with the Sableye, and we'll probably just see that first attack from the Tyranitar. I believe those single strike energies allow you to do maybe 20 more? A lot like the strong energies and the powerful colorless energies. Or is it 30? I don't remember. I'm going to look it up. Single strike energy has never been relevant in the meta, so forgive me for not knowing it. $20 more damage. Ichigeki Strike. Yep, so we are seeing potentially that Urn of Vitality. At least they're talking about it. That will be able to shuffle back single strike energies at some point back into the deck. Looks like we are looking at our full deck. Not quite sure what we are going to get out with this Archeops here. Might as well charge up something else so you have an additional attacker. Maybe that Lugia V-Star. That Stonjourner wouldn't be too bad either. It is a single prize Pokemon. So yeah, it looks like we're going to go for a single strike energy and a gift energy. I really like the gift energies in the Lugia decks. It allows you to draw some extra cards. Ooh, he's thinking about retreating here. So yeah, that's because if you take the knockout, you only take 1 prize, and then your opponent takes 2 prize cards. So you would rather retreat, use the urn to put the energies back in your deck, use a second Archeops to get another energy down onto your Stonjourner, and then take the knockout on the Sableye. Yeah, so you are going to have to use the second attack. I believe it can't use that attack in consecutive turns, was it right? Yeah, during your next turn, this Pokemon can't use Giga Hammer, so it can still use the first attack, Lance Pulse. We are going to see a Professor Burnett as well. If there are any more Archeops in the deck, we might as well just discard those. So yeah, going to discard up to 2 cards from the deck. Looks like we're going to go with a Lugia V and a Nest Ball. Don't need those. We are pretty much set up for the rest of the game anyway. So might as well thin your deck of those cards you don't need. This is a play that we did a lot with Battle Compressor, which was an item card that allowed you to discard 3 cards from your deck. Professor Burnett discards 1 less and is a supporter, so a lot different. A lot different for sure. So we are going to take that knockout with the Giga... or are we knocking out with Lance Pulse? There's no stadium in play, so we're doing 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we're only doing 70 with Lance Pulse, so we have to attack with Giga Hammer. So it would be fine if we were hitting into a Comfey, but we were 10 short, so we have to use Giga Hammer. Not sure what that disagreement was about there. So we are evolving to the Giratina. Was it evolving to the Giratina V-Star now? And then we have another Sableye come down and a Roxanne. Looks like these players do like these rainbow rares in Japan. I'm a little surprised. I always thought just everybody hated rainbow rares. Except for my friend Alan. I pulled a rainbow rare Serena in my Win-A-Box winnings, if you want to go check that video out. The Silver Tempest one. And, yeah, I immediately texted him. I'm like, you want this? I don't. We are going to attach an energy to the Sableye. We have a switch cart, so we can switch this Comfey out. And we will now be able to attack with the Sableye. We will be able to knock out the Tyranitar that is on the bench. I believe it does have 220 HP total. So we just need to put 10 damage counters to that benched Pokemon. And we'd have a free 2 damage counters to put wherever else we'd like. I would like to see 1 on the Stone Journer because it has 130 HP. So if you're not attacking with another Sableye in the future, you would need that 1 damage counter there. And then maybe just soften up the V-Star a little bit. So you have 10, 11, yeah, so just put 1 on the Lugia V-Star. You would have to Clara the Sableye back, or maybe Ordinary Rod it. Did Ordinary Rod rotate? I think it may have. We also see the Temple of Sinnoh is going to be shutting off those energies, so they only provide 1 colorless. So that will make it impossible for this Stone Journer to be able to attack. This player on the right is definitely going to be having to find some sort of way to remove the stadium, either a lost vacuum or a stadium of their own. I do believe Lugia decks may have been going back to the collapsed stadium because of the fact that they have to play single strike energies now. Looks like we are getting a 4th single strike energy down on the Stone Journer. It does have a 3 retreat cost. You could always retreat those single strike energies again, then use another Urn of Vitality to put them back into the deck. It only shuffles 2 of them, but you know, you could still use 2 urns to get all 3 back, or you could just shuffle back in 2 for now. So it looks like we do have the collapsed stadium. We are going to discard the Luminion that we just put down after getting our supporter to our hand. So really love that play. That is a great play to manage your bench the best way that you could. I would have liked to see that a little bit. I would have liked to see that last turn though, because then you could have discarded the Tyranitar, but of course I don't think we had that play, or he may have still wanted to keep the Tyranitar in play just in case he could use it into the next Giratina V-Star. But it looks like we are going to play the Judge. I believe that must have been the one that he searched out with that Luminion. We're going to shuffle both our hands into the deck. We're both going to draw 4 cards. And for anyone who is confused, if this is your first match that you are tuning into here, the reason that they are like doing a weird cut right before they shuffle, right after they shuffle, before they draw their cards, is because they do have a giant wall of plexiglass between them. So they are not allowed to touch each other's cards. It's a COVID precaution in Japan. So the way that they cut each other's decks is by telling them how many cards to put from the top to the bottom. So they did that just there. The person on the left said 3, so the person on the right put 3 cards from the top to the bottom. Oh my god, they're playing Great Ball. Yeah, it really goes to show that Evo and Sense must have rotated, because I don't see any reason why you would play that if there is Evo and Sense in format. So we are going to use the first attack with the Stonejourner Lands Pulse. Since we used Giga Hammer last turn, we cannot use Giga Hammer again. But there is a Stadium card in play this turn, so Lands Pulse does do an additional 30 damage now, which it wouldn't have done before. So he would have been 10 short the previous attack if he used Lands Pulse, but this attack, since there's a Stadium now, does do an additional 30. We are going to see another Mirage Gate here. Still have 14 cards in the Lost Zone, so plenty of cards in the Lost Zone, twice as many as you need in order to use the Mirage Gate. We're going to see a Water Energy come down here. Looks like that may be the only energy that is in deck. That is really unfortunate here. So you could see just how the fact that the Japanese players don't prize check because they don't really have time for it in a best of 1 25-minute match can really hurt them, because they don't really know how much energy they have access to in their deck. And then they have to play a deck like Lost Box suboptimally. It's very hard to play a deck like Lost Box. It is one of the most skill-intensive decks in the format, in my personal opinion, just because of all of the micro decisions you have to make when you Lost Zone cards with the Comphase and the Chorus's Experiments and the Abyss Seeking with the Giratina that these decks like to do now. We have a useless Battle VIP Pass in hand. Got 2 more Chorus's Experiments. Yeah, not really anything you can do here. Looks like this Lugia will be just steamrolling from here. If you cannot get a Grass Energy and a Switch card here in order to retreat your Comphase into the Giratina, I don't see any way that you could possibly win the game. Again, best thing to see would have been like a Switch cart Boss's Orders Grass Energy here. That would have been an easy way to win the game. You just bring up the Lugia V, either one of them, and just go for the GX attack to knock out that Pokemon. But instead, we are going to have to pass, and this Stonejourner is now going to be able to take its 3rd prize card of the game, can just use yet another Lands Pulse, or maybe we could see... I don't think there is any way, unless there is a Lost Vacuum, I don't see that there is any way that we can get another Tyranitar into play, because that Collapse Stadium is now hindering him from being able to get another Tyranitar here. So we are going to have to go in with Giga Hammer. We're doing 120, 4, 6. Yeah, we are doing 180. There are no Luminions on the bench here for this Giratina player, so Boss's Orders is not an out to win the game now. So we are just going to have to attack with Lands Pulse and hope that the opponent does not draw into Boss's Orders. So very close game still. Looks like we are going to replace the stadium, so we do have a new stadium instead. It is a coin flip stadium. I don't even know what that's called, so I can't look it up. I apologize. But I do believe it. Oh, it's the new, like, main city. I believe it lets you search for a Pokemon, like flip a coin, search for a Pokemon or something like that. We do see the Boss's Orders. We'll bring up the Lugia. We'll use the GX attack since there are more than 10 cards in the Lost Zone. And we will win the game from there. So, yep, Giratina ends up squeezing that one out by the Boss's Orders. Hope you guys enjoyed. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Feed that YouTube algorithm. Help keep that channel growing. And we will see you guys next time for another round of the Pokemon Champion League in Japan.